I've been waiting all episode to ask if people are viewing the Vancouver Canucks correctly, because this is a team that won the Pacific Division last season. You could say arrived. Quinn Hughes wins the Norris. They lose in 7 games to the Western Conference champion. Like, there's so much about this team that you have to respect and you have to like. And then the Tides were kind of crazy and wishy-washy in the offseason, and we now wake up with them tied for 13th with the Los Angeles Kings in betting odds to win the Stanley Cup. Realistically, how much worse are the Canucks, and do you think their demise has been overstated?
I definitely think they're worse. I don't know if their demise is overstated. Like, where are they projected to finish in the division based on the betting odds? Do we know?
Ooh, good question.
Obviously, the Oilers.
Sean, you want to jump on them? Oh, those are the cup odds. Oh, yeah. I guess you could just go by. They're tied with the Kings.
So, like, second
famously.
or third in the division, they're projected. It appears.
Looks like it. Yeah, behind
Tied
the Oilers.
for third.
Behind the Oilers.
Oh no, behind
Knights
the Oilers
Kings.
and the Golden Knights,
and they're tied with so tied
Right.
for third.
So, like, tied for the third best odds. I think that's about right, but I wouldn't. I don't know if I would put Vegas like above them.
Yes, I think that Vegas is being overrated there, but also like Vegas is just one of those teams that
They're always fucking
you have to
hanging around.
well, they always are there, but also I feel like when you're making betting odds, you have to. It's like making the Bruins a like top 5 team every year. Like, people who are casual sports fans are going to be like, I think the Bruins will win this year, just because whenever they watch hockey, the Bruins are pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe that's kind of what that is. But
I think as far as the Canucks go, like, they're not going to be as bad as they were 2 years ago. They're probably not going to be as good as they were last year, but the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And that's still really good. Like, they're a playoff team, absolutely. The question that maybe like pushes them more in one direction than the other is like, what's their goaltending situation?
What's Demko?
It seems like the Demko situation is pretty bad, and Shelov's has some questions of his own.
Yeah.
But if Shelov's is the guy that we saw in the playoffs, he was a fucking dog.
I loved Shelov's in the playoffs. You want to talk about somebody who arrived? Absolutely. But beyond that, like, what if it's Shelov's and if Demko's out? They lost Casey DeSmith. Mm-hmm. Been doing a lot of Casey DeSmith talk on this podcast recently, but
A surprising amount.
UNH guy, what do you want from me? I'm also hammering Warren Fogle takes in this episode, but they also did, though, the thing that I don't like to do, which is they got better. They got, I would say, quite a bit better on the wing while getting worse down the middle and on D. Their big fish is Jake DeBrusk. Very cautiously excited about that because I love Jake DeBrusk, the player. Love Jake DeBrusk, the guy. Jake DeBrusk has gone from playing for the Boston Bruins, being a goal scorer for the Boston Bruins, to being a goal scorer for the Vancouver Canucks. Jake, I love you. Have you considered playing hockey in a market that will just like let you be?
Yeah,
because
right.
he's gone from one pressure cooker to another, and in doing so, is the face of an offseason that saw them lose Elias Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov, Casey DeSmith.
I think you're right on the money there because we've seen it in Vancouver. They get on streaky players. Like, Elias Pettersson can be very streaky. I think he's an incredible player. He is not super consistent, and they crush him when he's down. Jake DeBrusk is an extremely streaky player. He disappears for large chunks of times. When he's on, he's great. And like, he's going to be an awesome player for that team when he's on. He's not going to be on all the time.
Right. Make the playoffs, though, Canucks. Make the playoffs. And when you see playoff Jake DeBrusk, not all rounds are created equal, but
people will be deleting tweets when he gets to the playoffs and scores.
When you see Jake DeBrusk get going in the playoffs, hoo boy. He love him as a player, but as Pete noted, he is a streaky player, and he'll tell you that himself. And not streaky in that, like, hey, you know, DeBrusk has gone like 5 games without a point.
Oh no, it'll be like 14.
Funny, whatever. Like, it will get into a thing where you're like, what are they like? Do they scratch this player? It's the damnedest thing.
And it's maybe this is a case for like a lot of streaky players. Like, it's not a case of like not caring.
No,
but like he cares too much. Like not cares too much, but it's between the ears.
Yeah.
I think he really is tough on himself and over analyzes his own game and is like a paralysis by analysis.
He's also just got the greatest heart in the world. So I'll say Vancouver Canucks fans,
be nice.
Be nice. Love him.
Love him because that's a waste of breath telling Canucks fans to be nice.
I know, but like love him because he's going to love you.
Yeah.
Like he is going to love that team so much, and he'll be a very good addition vibes-wise, which we love.
Hey, thanks for watching the channel.
We appreciate everybody who checks out our stuff, but 80% of our viewers are not actually subscribed to this page, so if you could smash that subscribe button, it would go a very long way for us.
The more subscriptions we have, the more visibility we get from YouTube, which allows us to do more.
So press that button. Thank you. Dan Heinen, I think, is one of the more underrated pickups of the offseason because
was last year too.
Last season, he was why is he on a PTO type of thing? They signed him and he rips off, he scored 19 goals, 17 goals, something like that.
He was really good 2 years ago in Pittsburgh. Like a PTO after that year was crazy to me. And I thought he had a great season with the Bruins. He's not a guy that's going to score a bunch, which like I'm looking at
last year.
He scored what, like 18?
Yeah, some
goals?
17, something. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, which is on the higher end of what to expect from Dan Heinen.
Yeah,
I think the goals are an added bonus. He's just a guy that's going to go into the lineup and do everything right, like as a 200-foot player. But every goal that he scores, you're like, oh, nice. That's a nice little bonus.
And any spot that he takes up, even if you're like, do I want him on my second line right now? Like, he is going to actually hold down that spot and be difficult to play against. He's a good defensive player. He's just a very well-rounded player who will get you 15 goals. And I guess that when I say he scored a bunch, it's that I consider him to be not a goal scorer, which he isn't. He's not a goal scorer. But then when you get 15 goals from a player who is not a goal scorer, you're like, hey, that guy ain't so bad. So they get...
Sure, but like we're talking about like the Bruins last year, he spent most of the time bottom six-ish. And like you're looking at daily faceoff right now, projecting these lines. He's a first-line left wing.
All right. Have to note, of course, we haven't mentioned Dakota Joshua, who they signed back and had a testicular cancer diagnosis this summer. So obviously, we wish him the absolute best. We're a big Dakota Joshua podcast. But that's like when guys are injured or if guys are sick or guys are in and out of the line, like Danton Heinen is a player you want on your roster who you're like, fuck, suddenly our... Dakota Joshua probably ideally is like a third line left wing. Like, oh my God, like something horrible has happened to our third line left wing. Dan Heinen can do that. Dan Heinen can play that position. You can move him around. He's not making a ton of money. Shouldn't make a ton of money. Doesn't command a ton of money. Like, a very useful piece. That's the guy that at a trade deadline, a cup contender trades for like a big name defenseman and a big name forward. And then Danton Heinen, and in the playoffs, you're like, thank God they got Danton Heinen, huh?
Yeah, he's a guy who like should finish his career playing for like eight teams.
Two other players,
any team can use him.
Two other players I want to mention. One, why was Daniel Sprong a 1-year, $975,000 deal? Granted, all he does is like all he can do is like shoot and score. It's kind of the only thing he can do.
It's a valuable commodity.
But he can actually do that, and he's 27 years old, so that's kind of weird to me. And then the other one is Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Lekkerimäki, is that his name? I believe. Lekkerimäki, the 2022 15th overall pick, who they, I think, might give an actual shot to. And if so, and you got young guys contributing, and you got Daniel Sprong right now, it looks like on the fourth. Like, I love Connor Garland. We love him.
This lineup that we're looking at, this projected lineup, does not seem like it's going to be what we see.
It's going to be fluid. We haven't even mentioned Arshdeep yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He's about to go Arshdeep on them.
Nils Höglander, right? Like he could slide up and down. So there's a lot of talent on this team. They have a lot of nice pieces. It's certainly not as impressive on paper as it was last year, but the true thing that we learned last year about the Canucks is now they have a great head coach who gets them to play for him every single night, and they play winning hockey. Like, they're going to be a good team.
Looking at their projected lines, you know what's really fun? And it's not fun, but just cool, I guess. Third pairing right now, they have Derek Forbort and Vinny Desharnais. That's just like a no house for anybody. And also, we'll be in the defensive zone the whole time.
Caved in, yes.
We'll be absolutely caved in, but they're probably not going to score.
They're PK,
and also they might
Forbort's
score.
a great PK guy.
Which they're middle of the pack there last year, so they could use that.
So the thing about the Canucks is that last year, like, had a really impressive roster, but they also had one of the best players at every position basically all year long with Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, and Thatcher Demko. How much regression is there going to be? Like, Demko's not going to be in, but like maybe there's not a steep drop off if Shelovs is really good and plays. But like, is Quinn Hughes going to have a Norris caliber season again?
I have an answer for that.
I think he's capable of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is that guy.
Elias Pettersson, is he going to be one of the best forwards in hockey for most of the year?
I have questions about that because I'm wondering, like, with what we saw as the postseason went on, and it was like, where is he?
Yeah.
And is he beginning that contract? Year 1, year 2? Elias Pettersson?
I want to say that he was on. I think he might be starting it this year.
Yeah, I believe this is year 1.
But anyway, at the
Is
beginning,
year 1, yep.
Like, they chose their Elias.
Yeah.
And I would have chosen Elias Pettersson too.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
chose the correct Elias. But I don't know. I don't think that he's going to be terrible or anything, or I don't even think that he's going to be
But there might be
below
regression.
very good, but maybe he's not unbelievable.
Right.
I think this team got worse. Clearly, on paper, it got worse, but they're still a playoff team, and I think that they're probably still a top 3 team in the division.
Yep.
We all silly like the mayor.